Good evening. If you have a mobile phone, if you'd like to put it on silent, please, thank you. Huge welcome to Phil Escott and Zahir Khan with Myths on the Path to Enlightenment. Phil and Zach, between them, have practiced many disciplines including yoga, Sufism and meditation. These lads are actively seeking betterment so they may share what has unfolded. And some sit around awaiting change. They run the following websites, all the W's, fallingintothemystery.com and all the W's, pureactivity.net. Covered tonight, dogma of various flavours, physical health, belief systems, lifestyle and more. Do expect a bit of a challenge here and there. Please welcome Phil Escott and Zahir Khan.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this is my second time here, so I'm really honoured to be asked back again. Zach's going to do the second half, so I'm going to get all the boring stuff out of the way. In the first half, I feel like I'm the cleaning lady who's clearing out some show house, and Zach's going to show you around later on. So I'm going to do all this, the more earthy stuff in the first bit. So can we see who little flavour for who's here? Is anybody feel like they're on some spiritual path here? We have some spiritual kind of people. Anybody feel dissatisfied with this spiritual path or some frustrations on it? Zach. Anyone vegetarian? Anyone vegan? Okay. Bear with me on this. Be easy on me. I might challenge some of this, but okay, cool. So, just if I don't suppose many of you were here last time, so just a little introduction to why I've come to be here. Back in, since the 70s, 80s, I've always been massively seeking this and that and trying to figure out diet and lifestyle and awakening and what is it all about. And back in 95, 96, I even wrote this book, Pure Activity, and it was okay, it's a training book and it's Ayurveda and all that kind of thing. And then there was the diet section on vegetarianism, and I was a TM meditator at the time and getting into all the cities and flying thing and living in Skelmersdale, convinced about all this vegetarianism and eating rice and dal every day. And it was a great time, but then certain physical things started to kick off. I was kind of quite big and muscly, owning a gym at the end of the 90s, but quite a little while later things started to go wrong. So this was kind of what happened. So on the left, this is me with the sort of conventional thing that I thought I knew about, diet and exercise and calories in, calories out, and meditating, and I don't really need anything but my mantra and all that sort of thing. So this is where it ended up, and this was a lot of ailments, a lot of calcifications in arteries and fatty liver and cysts on the liver and and eventually psoriatic arthritis really crippled me in 2010, and I've already done a talk for New Horizons on that, so I won't really go on about that so much. But then I had to really challenge myself to fix it, because I thought I knew a lot about everything, and I thought, okay, right, raw veganism, let's go for raw veganism. And I had, in 2006, I'd had this moment where I decided to let go of all of meditation and the TM movement. And in that moment of absolutely letting it go, with all the last of the guilt, almost a little religious guilt of why wasn't I going into the dome, the meditation building there? Why wasn't I meditating as I should be, Anyway, so finally I just let it go, and I thought, I'm just going to get rid of it. And in that moment, there was a total shift of perception, which finally stuck and was permanent. And it's something that my last talk was on missing little signs, little awakenings that maybe you resist. and how that led over the years to an enormous autoimmune problem. And yes, it did, but this time slightly different. I'll take a different angle on this. So yes, there was that moment where there was this total shift of perception. And so 4 years later, when I fell really ill, it was almost a puzzle, because why should I be ill now? Why should I be so overweight, so ill? And lying there crippled on the sofa, and my first thought was, right, you've got to detox. You've got to detox the body. You've got to go raw vegan. You've got to juice everything. And anyway, as I see now, predictably, I ended up fixing a couple of things. It can seem okay to start with, but then I ended up with just emaciated and still with some fat on, but the muscle had gone and lots of inflammation still there. So on the right there, that's me stuffing myself full of nothing but meat and saturated fat, and suddenly health came back online. It was a last resort. It was like nothing I'd ever thought of before. So I thought, okay, let's really look at what's going on here. Let's disassemble so much dogma. And I believe, honestly, that if you follow conventional methods, it's very unlikely that, number one, you're going to get healthy, and number two, you're going to awaken, whether there's any way that you can be made to awaken or not. But to me, what fell away, one of the big things that fell away, was spirituality. It seemed absolutely nonsensical after that. It seemed to be very contrived. There's three reasons, isn't there, really, why people become spiritual, and I've been guilty of all of them, really, and not that there's anything wrong with any of them. The need for belonging or community, that's huge. That's why people get into religions, they get into spirituality. The need to feel better or happier. Of course, everybody wants to do that. And the genuine desire for awakening, which is surprisingly rare. I've realized in the TM movement that I'm in, that it's actually quite rare, I think, and if anybody does have a real shift, it's discouraged to talk about it. You get quite violent responses to it quite often, so it's best just not to mention it, really. And I think a lot of the reasons for doing this talk today and structuring it like this is how many people in my community in Skelmersdale are dying of cancer, basically. And 3 friends I've lost since the last time I talked here in the summer, and I know there's more who are very, very sick with all sorts of autoimmunity and cancer. And I think I have a little bit of an angle on it that I can present today of why this is happening, because it's just one of the big misconceptions of the spiritual path of being vegetarian and detoxing and being. We'll come to that. So who are we? We're just a collection of our accumulated beliefs. And this can keep us from so many things. For awakening, we need to find out which beliefs are false and let them go, especially the big one of the mistake that we are individual entities. Of course, there's the paradox that we are, and we're not. So, but that is the hugest disconnect with our ancestral heritage, I think. For feeling better, we just need to choose beliefs that make us suffer the least. I don't think that anything I'm presenting here tonight is the ultimate knowledge. I learn every day. Stuff I've learned since the last time I talked here, to put what I experienced in my own body into perspective, I think is extremely convincing, and it mirrors nature in some fascinating ways. But is it the ultimate knowledge? Of course it isn't. We all move from one thing to the other, and I've come to this knowledge from throwing out so many other dogmas that I've had. So what is awakening? Well, what is it when people talk about it? It's just the subtle shift, the acceptance of oneness and the paradox. It's not bells and whistles. I think in the spiritual community, we're looking for too much. We're looking for massive powers and omniscience, and it isn't actually that. And I think the quest for that keeps people from it. No individual actually awakens. This is a weird thing, because when it hits you, it is that universe awakening through you. It's almost impossible to put into words, and I'm going to leave that one and let Zahir dance around that one later on, because he's great at that. The ability to see through the absurd, it is because you lose the attachment, a lot of attachments to whatever it is that you believed, because you don't really take yourself so seriously once you see yourself as just a little cog in the mechanism, a little chip in the computer, you lose that clinging on to your beliefs. So it's easier to throw them out, and illness helps with this too. My greatest guru ever is being that sick, being that in that much agony, and not even being able to walk to the toilet sometimes because my joints were so inflamed. And they said it was incurable. And so I had to figure my own way out. And you've got to throw away a lot of your own beliefs, as well as the dogma that you're seeing coming from the medical profession and stuff like that. So it doesn't make you immortal or invincible. It doesn't. It's this subtle awakening, this subtle shift. There may be many, many powers and all sorts of wonderful things way beyond that. And I'm sure that the thing that people talk about as awakening is a very, very subtle thing. So it's hard to focus on even the desire for it, or even to enjoy an existing one. When I met Zach because we both did something called a Buddha at the gas pump interview, and we met in Liverpool, and we really hit it off, and we have a lot of fun. But after my Buddha at the gas pump interview, I did mention this meat thing, and it's an outrageous thing to a lot of spiritual people. And I had a lot of hey Debs, and I had a lot of people contacting me after. Sometimes some spiritual teachers who felt like they'd lost their awakenings even. And to me, I would Skype them and I'd look at them and they'd expect some spiritual kind of answer. And me, I'd just say, run me through what you're eating. Because looking at them, it was so obvious that they were being depleted and their guts were trashed by all the grains and the pulses. And when you can see somebody almost brought back to their awakening by putting the body back together, because it's all one. There's not a separation between body, mind, and spirit. It's all one. It's all a machine that works exactly together. It's no surprise that emotions create problems in the body and that kind of thing. It's no surprise at all. It's all the one thing. So it's hard to enjoy anything, really, if the body is that sick. Okay, the perception is still there that everything's one, but you're still in just as much agony as somebody else. And if anybody tells you different, I think they're faking. So, one of my favourite quotes, Ram Tzu, he's actually a guy who, Wayne Lickerman, isn't he? Yeah, he's just a lovely quote I saw on one of his things, bring me your dearest held beliefs and with any luck you'll leave without them. By all means, hang on to beliefs if they make you happy, they make you comfortable. But if they're not, throw some of them out, move on. So the disconnects, the big disconnects, as I see them from coming through this illness, food. I'm going to deal a lot with food tonight, but it's not even the main thing in health. It really isn't. I believe that's in the realms of light and emotions. But food, it has so much dogma built up around it. Like if somebody comes to me and with an autoimmune disease, and I talk to them about diet, and they're a McDonald's eater or something, very easy. You tell them to eat buttery steak all day, they're fine. If I have a vegan come to me, it's very difficult to break through layers and layers of dogma. And where has this all come from? Well, it's come from religion and spirituality. There's never been a vegetarian society. There hasn't. Electricity, non-native EMFs, you know, the power grids. This is when disease really kicked off. When electricity came in, artificial light, the blue light that we're not supposed to see ruins our whole circadian biology. And when you understand circadian biology, you understand the cycles of nature, really. You understand why the food is damaging you in whichever latitude you're in. It's not about there's an ideal human diet. It's not about that. Shoes, we're not grounded. This was another bad move. As soon as I can in the summer, I just walk around barefoot. When I was really sick, I'd walk out in the back garden, put my feet on the ground. The inflammation dissipates, particularly in the cold, particularly if it was snowing. I spent a winter in cold thermogenesis, just getting in cold baths, going out into the snow, rolling around. It's incredible for resetting it. And as we'll see later, it also has another use.